She had no idea that the laughter she thought was harmless would turn her world upside down in just a few minutes. A man's spit aimed at her was about to become the first warning that this was no ordinary day. The sun hung low over the horizon, casting a golden glow over the small rundown service station on the outskirts of Willow Creek, a quiet town where everyone's business was public knowledge. Maya Carter, an 18-year-old with fiery determination and a sharp mind, wiped the sweat from her brow as she unloaded sacks of animal feed from her family's old pickup truck. Her father, Robert Carter, stood beside her, steady and dependable as always, filling the truck's tank. The two were accustomed to long days on their modest farm, a piece of land that had been in the Carter family for generations. Mia paused for a moment, glancing at the dusty road that led into town. The distant hum of engines grew louder, pulling her attention toward the gas station's edge. It was an unusual sound for such a sleepy place. Her grip on the feed bag tightened as the rumble turned into a deafening roar. Then they appeared, a gang of bikers tearing down the road with reckless abandon, their motorcycles growling like wild animals. Her pulse quickened. Willow Creek wasn't the sort of town that attracted troublemakers. The sight of the leather-clad riders, their jackets emblazoned with the name Steel Reapers, set her nerves on edge. She'd heard of them, stories whispered in neighboring towns about their intimidation tactics and the chaos they left in their wake. But they had never ventured into Willow Creek before. The gang pulled into the station, parking their bikes with a calculated arrogance. Their leader, a tall man with a shaved head and a jagged scar running down his cheek, stepped off his bike first. He wore an air of command, his every movement exuding confidence and menace. His name was Marcus Fury Callahan, and his reputation preceded him. Mia tried to remain invisible as she continued her work, hoping they would simply refuel and leave. Fury's eyes scanned the station before landing on her. A slow, mocking smile spread across his face. Well, what do we have here?" His voice was loud, carrying easily over the low rumble of idling engines. "A little farm girl, playing with the big kids?" Laughter erupted from his gang, sharp and grating. Mia's cheeks flushed, but she refused to react. She focused on her task, determined to avoid escalating the situation. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Fury called out, taking a step closer. "Or should I just call you Country Girl?" Mia felt her father's presence behind her, a steady force that grounded her. Robert didn't turn around, continuing to pump gas into the truck with deliberate calm. Mia took a deep breath, summoning her courage. "I'm busy," she replied, her voice steady. Fury's grin widened, clearly amused by her defiance. "Busy, huh? I like a girl with a little fire." He turned to his crew. "Maybe we should help her out. What do you say, boys?" The laughter grew louder, and Mia's stomach churned. One of the bikers, a burly man with a tattoo snaking up his neck, stepped forward. He picked up a rag from the counter and tossed it toward her. "Here, farm girl, clean our bikes. You're good at chores, right?" Mia's hands clenched into fists. Before she could respond, her father's calm voice cut through the noise. "Leave her alone." The laughter stopped abruptly. Fury turned his attention to Robert, his smirk faltering for a fraction of a second. "And who's this?" Fury asked, his tone dripping with mockery. "Daddy's here to save the day?" Robert finally turned, his weathered face calm but resolute. "I'm asking you politely to move along. We don't want any trouble." Fury chuckled, the sound low and menacing. "You hear that, boys? He doesn't want trouble." He took a step closer, towering over Robert. "Well, old man, maybe trouble wants you." The bikers closed in, forming a loose circle around Mia and her father. The air was thick with tension. Fury's smirk returned, his eyes glinting with malice. "You think you can tell us what to do?" Fury said, his voice low and dangerous. Robert's gaze didn't waver. "I'm not telling you anything. I'm asking. Leave now, and we'll all forget this ever happened." The bikers exchanged amused glances, but Fury's expression darkened. He took another step forward, his posture radiating aggression. Mia felt her breath catch in her throat as her father stood his ground, his calm demeanor unshaken. "You've got a lot of nerve," Fury growled. Robert's voice was steady, each word deliberate. "And you've got a lot to lose." Fury's grin twisted into a sneer. "Is that so?" Before anyone could react, one of the bikers lunged toward Robert, his fist raised. In a blur of motion, Robert sidestepped the attack and grabbed the man's wrist. twisting it with practiced precision. The biker cried out in pain as Robert forced him to the ground with a swift motion. The remaining bikers froze, their cocky demeanor replaced by hesitation. Fury's eyes narrowed, his smirk replaced by a hard, calculating stare. "Who the hell are you?" Fury demanded. Robert released the biker, who scrambled to his feet and retreated behind the others. "I'm a father protecting his daughter," Robert replied. "That's all you need to know." For a moment, the only sound was the hum of the motorcycles. Fury seemed to weigh his options, his jaw tightening. Finally, he stepped back, raising his hands in mock surrender. "You've got guts, old man," Fury said. "But this isn't over." He turned to his gang. "Let's go." The bikers mounted their motorcycles, their engines roaring to life. Fury shot one last glare at Robert before leading his crew back onto the road. As the dust settled and the noise faded, Mia exhaled a shaky breath. Her father placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. She nodded, her voice trembling. "I'm fine. But Dad, who are you?" Robert's eyes softened, a hint of sadness flickering in their depths. "Just someone who's seen enough to know when to stand up for what's right." The confrontation at the gas station became the talk of Willow Creek, the once quiet town buzzing with whispers about the Carter family. As the days passed, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that the encounter with the Steel Reapers was just the beginning of something much bigger. And she was right. The days turned into weeks, and life in Willow Creek seemed to return to normal. But for Mia, the memory of that day lingered like a shadow. Her father's calm yet commanding presence during the confrontation had revealed a side of him she had never seen before. There was a strength and resolve in him that went beyond the hard work and quiet resilience she had always admired. It was the strength of a man who had faced challenges far greater than she could imagine. And it was a strength they would need, as the Steel Reapers weren't the kind to let a slight go unanswered. Their return was inevitable, and when it came, Willow Creek would never be the same. 3 weeks after the encounter, the quiet of Willow Creek was shattered once again. It started with the low growl of engines in the distance, growing louder as the Steel Reapers returned. This time, their numbers had doubled. The gang rolled into town with an air of purpose, their motorcycles forming a menacing convoy that brought traffic to a standstill. Mia watched from the farmhouse, her heart sinking as she recognized Fury at the head of the pack. Her father stood beside her, his face unreadable. "Stay inside," Robert said firmly, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Dad, you can't face them alone," Mia protested, fear creeping into her voice. He turned to her, his expression softening. "I've handled worse. Trust me." Reluctantly, Mia obeyed, retreating to the safety of the house, but keeping a watchful eye from the window. She saw the bikers pull up to the gas station, where Robert was already waiting for them. Fury dismounted his bike, his movements deliberate as he approached. "We've got unfinished business," Fury said, his voice low and menacing. Robert crossed his arms, his stance unyielding. "You came all this way for a grudge? That's a lot of effort for nothing." Fury's lips curled into a snarl. "You made us look weak. Nobody makes the Steel Reapers look weak and gets away with it." "You did that to yourselves," Robert replied evenly. "Leave while you still can." The tension was palpable as Fury took a step closer. The other bikers fanned out, their presence oppressive. But Robert stood firm, his calm demeanor unshaken. He had faced fear before, and he wouldn't back down now. Inside the house, Mia watched in agony, her fists clenched as she struggled with the urge to intervene. She knew her father was capable, but the odds were stacked against him. Then, as if sensing her turmoil, Robert glanced toward the window. Their eyes met, and in that moment, Mia understood. Her father wasn't just protecting her, he was teaching her a lesson about courage and integrity. The confrontation escalated as Fury barked orders to his crew, but Robert remained composed, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. He didn't need to raise his fists to command respect. His strength was in his resolve, his unshakable belief in doing what was right. And slowly, the bikers began to falter, their bravado unraveling under the weight of his unwavering presence. As the sun set over Willow Creek, the Steel Reapers retreated once again, their defeat not in blows, but in the realization that they couldn't break Robert Carter. Mia stepped outside to join her father, her heart swelling with pride and newfound understanding. "I get it now," she said quietly. "It's not just about fighting back. It's about standing for what matters." Robert smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "That's right, and it's a lesson worth remembering." The events of that day became a turning point for Willow Creek, a story that would be told for generations. And for Mia, it marked the beginning of her own journey, one where courage, integrity, and the quiet strength of her father would guide her every step of the way.